Since October 10th, when gold hit $1,830 an ounce, marking the low for quite some time, and silver $21 an ounce, we've seen it rally. Even today, after the pullback of $100, we're up $300 an ounce $200 an ounce in gold since October 10th, and up $3.55 in silver since October 10th with the pullbacks that we've seen today. So that's fine. Markets go way up, they'll come back, they'll test some resistance. Nothing goes straight up. And I was expecting this type of a pullback. You could see the positioning by the commercial banks, yet it is still performing very, very, very well. But what's going on really is the question. And one of the things that I've talked a lot about was the de-dollarization, the fact that Saudi Arabia and OPEC was moving potentially in a different direction. And in the span of the last year, we've seen Saudi Arabia with all of the other OPEC countries, every one of them joined the Belt Road Initiative, which right now represents 75% of human population, 50% of global GDP. We saw that, right? We saw them join the BRICS and are formally admitted to the BRICS. We've seen Saudi Arabia join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is the largest regional financial and military organization on the planet. And we've seen them join the New Development Bank, the BRICS New Development Bank, which is kind of like the World Bank for the West. And we've had them tell everyone at Davos, at the World Bank meeting, that, hey, we're open to taking other currencies for oil. Okay, fine. China and Saudi Arabia just did a big currency swap for about $9 billion. What that means is they agreed to trade with one another using each other's currencies, sidestepping the traditional method of settlement, the US dollar, sidestepping the SWIFT system. That's big. And we know that they're going to do energy and whatever China wants to sell back, and they'll do yuan and real, and they'll get better rates instead of converting into dollars at these high rates and whatnot. It's a big deal. Poland, who's been the second largest accumulator of gold this year, listen to what the head of the Polish National Bank said. Adam Glipinski said, holding gold was a matter of financial security and stability. Gold will retain its value even when someone cuts off the power to the global financial system, destroying traditional assets based on electric accounting records. What? Did he just say that? He says, of course, we don't assume this will happen, but the saying goes, forewarned is always insured, and the central bank is required to be prepared for even the most unfavorable circumstances. That's why we see a special place for gold in our foreign exchange management process. So he's saying, oh, the whole system blows up and it's all accounting digitally. That's why there are people that will say if you don't own it in your hands, you don't hold it, you don't own it. So if we blow up the system because we incentivize Saudi Arabia to no longer work with us because we're going green, look what UAE just did, and look at all of the groups they're all signing up with. Buying gold and silver give you an out until you have to get back in. I mean, if all of a sudden that's the only way that you can, well, let me say this. You got 12 or 13 states right now that have already passed laws that allow gold and silver to be used as legal tender, including for everything, including paying your property taxes as currency. Yes. Texas and Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, Alaska, Idaho, North Carolina, Arkansas, Oklahoma. Excuse me. It's on the docket in Florida right now. Let's just be honest. You have to hope for the very best and prepare for the worst best you can.
Right.
But if we find ourselves in a place where you have no choice, if you want to transact, either to barter, to use gold and silver, or to use the currency of the realm, well, it is what it is. Nowadays, in terms of value, is digital. Everything is. And so that's one of the nice things about gold and silver is that they are assets in your hands that are not simultaneously someone else's liability. You have privacy, you have anonymity, you have liquidity, and you have, at least right now, a ticket out of the matrix. So, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that if all of a sudden the CBDC is law, that any of us will have much of any option. I think you make it simple and you do it by first trying your best to get out of debt
Okay.
as fast as you can. certainly revolving debt or variable rate debt. Do the best you can. Like he even said, David Rogers Webb said, there's no reason you should be in the equity markets if you have a mortgage. Debt and the accumulation of debt or the compounding of interest. People should be taught how to let it work for you instead against you. It should be the first thing kids are taught in elementary school. And everyone feels that it is their birthright to go into debt in this country. It's a mistake. So get out of debt, pay yourself first, buy some silver, buy some gold, prepare, have food, have water, be able to produce food if you can. Silver is much more scarce than gold. So if it's coming out of the ground at 7 to 1, but it's priced at 87 to 1, you could argue that it's 12 times undervalued. So in other words, if gold is the only other tier 1 reserve asset in the world, and the central banks are telling you it's money, even though silver is needed everywhere in industrial applications and monetary applications, the idea would be to own 87 ounces of silver right now for every 1 ounce of gold, knowing that for 5,000 years, the ratio was 16 to 1. And now it's 7 to 1 because it's depleting, it's disappearing. Like your skin is epidermis, silver is epithermal. It's found near the surface. Big deposits were found forever ago. This will be the 3rd year in a row of major structural deficits between supply and demand. It's disappearing. At the same time, the need for it in industrial and military and green and digital applications are increasing, not to mention monetary applications. So I don't want people to get rid of all of their silver, but I'll put it to you this way. If you could buy 1 ounce of gold right now or 87 ounces of silver, if you bought 87 ounces of silver, and then when the ratio gets to anywhere near its historical relationship of 16 to 1, let alone 7 to 1, you switch back into gold and you would make 10 or 11 times the amount of gold you make. The fact that it's coming out of the ground at 7 to 1, it's priced at 80 to 1, it's decreasing in nature and increasing in utility and demand. It's the trade of a generation. In other words, you stockpile silver, and when that ratio corrects, just if it just went back to its 100-year price average of 40 to 1, you double what you could otherwise have today. In other words, if you have 10 ounces of gold and you trade it into 850 ounces of silver, that means 85 ounces of silver for each 1 ounce of gold. If it goes to 42 to 1, which has been its average price, not geologic price, for 100 years, then you only need 42 ounces to get that 1 ounce back, the only other tier 1 asset in the world. What if it goes to 7 to 1, where it's coming out of the ground at? Well, now you got 85 ounces. Now you only need 7 to go back. You make 11 or 12 times. So that 10 ounces of gold becomes 110, 120 ounces of gold. And I think that there's no coincidence that you're seeing record central bank gold acquisition at the same time you're seeing record central bank bond buying. And who's buying all the bonds? Oh, that would be us, because we're all leaving the regional banks, going to chase yield. So you got all the investment in bonds.